So, we've made our objects. We're going to add some controls. The first controls we're going to add are those that make the player move. I've clicked on the player. To select, we right click and now I'm just going to move this up a bit so we can see a bit better. I'm going to change the view of this lower pane to Logic Editor. In Blender we have these marvelous logic bricks, and you can see here we've got sensors, controllers and actuators. To make this player work, we're going to add a sensor, and the sensor we're going to add is looking out for a keyboard press. We're going to call this forwards. The key is going to be W. So you press this button here, press a key, press W, lovely. Then we can just neaten that up like that. So we're saying when the W key is pressed on the keyboard, here we're going to add a controller, and this is basically saying do, you know, if the keyboard is pressed and continues to be pressed, keep doing this thing that we're going to tell it to do. Add an actuator. The actuator is what actually happens, and in this case it is motion. Now if we want to go forwards, we can have a little look what forwards might be. So in this case I'm going to go with forwards as the y-axis, and so in y here I'm just going to put 0.2 or 0.2. There we go, 0.2, and press enter and just neaten that up, and then we just drag from this little circle to this one. If you accidentally get this in the wrong place, you can just drag the other way to remove it. So click and drag like that to link these up. So we're saying when the key W is pressed, our forwards command, move it in the y-axis 0.2 every time that you recognise that it's being pressed, or the computer recognises that it's being pressed. If we press P, click in the main window here, press P, and we can then press W and check that that works. Okay. Press escape to get out of that. We're going to now add them for the remaining movements. So I'm just going to lift this up like that. Add sensor, keyboard, call it backwards. The key is going to be S. Okay. And move them up. And add an actuator, which will be motion. In this case, still on the y-axis, it's going to be minus 0.02. Sorry, minus 0.2. The next sensor, keyboard, is going to be left. So this is going to be A. And I'll do the other one while we're here. Keyboard, right, and here we're going to be D. A couple of ands. Excuse me. And a couple of actuators that are motion. But this time, we'll do the first one first. Let's just have a little look which direction it rotates in. Okay, the Z-axis. So we're going to put Z, so left should be -1. I'm just going to press P and check that I've got that right. No, I haven't. Okay. So left will be 1. And add another actuator, which will be motion. So right will be a rotation value of -1. Depending on the values that you put in, you can have it move faster or slower, or rotate more or less each time. So press P, and we should be able to use W, A, S and D to move around the whole place. Look at him go. I'd say him, it's a cube. Okay, press escape. The last one that we're going to add for the time being requires us to look at the physics menu. So over here on the right hand side, we click this little bouncy ball icon. With the character or the player selected, the physics type we're going to change to character. This is because it gives us this value, jump force. Okay, this value controls how high we jump. We need some logic bricks to do this, so we're going to add a keyboard sensor, and this one's going to be jump. Doesn't matter what you call these, it's just as long as it's descriptive and you know what it is. Press a key. I'm going to use the space bar, and we'll use hand again. There we go. And. Here in the actuator, we're going to use motion again. However, this time the motion type will not be simple motion, it's going to be character motion, and all we have to do is press the jump button so it knows that at this point we're going to apply this jump force value as well as the fall speed. Link that up properly. Okay, so now when we press P, okay, now because we've applied physics, it's now treating it as though it's an object with mass, and so it's fallen through the floor a little bit, but we can change that, and if we can at least check that our controls are working. Okay, good. So save your file, and we'll have a look at applying some physics and some controls or logic bricks to the other objects in the next video. The final thing we'll do, which I missed out slightly earlier on, is that we'll now make sure that our player doesn't do that by making sure that our other objects have got some physics attached to them as well. So right click on the player and change the collision bounds here so that it's got a tick in it, and the type of bound is a box, which is obviously most sensible for this object. I'm just going to change this to that for the time being, and if we press P, you'll see that now player does not fall through the floor. However, it will fall off the edge. So there we go. So press escape and get back to where we were.